What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a profile update for Junk Synchrons. That's right, the Synchron archetype got even more support in the form of the Junk Meister, and the card you wanted to search being the Junk Armor. On top of that as well, there's already future confirmed support for Synchrons in general, and the addition of Junk Meister is just absolutely insane for the strategy and what the deck wants to try to do. Now usually what I would do with this profile is I'd add a combo at the end of the video. However, I'm not going to do that because the person that created the combo and has been working really hard on the combo deserves all of the credit. And that is going to be the Metrics, or not the Metrics, but Metrics. I'm going to put a link in the description to their channel down below. They've been doing some incredibly good work lately, really good kind of combo orientations as well. Not just lately as well, just the whole channel is actually really good for giving you combo guides on everything you need to know. And they did a really cool combo off of the back of the Junk Meister. So it's definitely worth checking that video out, and that'll explain some of the choices that I've made behind this build, more so the extra deck than anything else, because I think the extra deck lines that they go through is actually really kind of cool, and it actually adds a lot to the deck as well. So credit where credit is due. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into profile, show you what we've got, and then explain why I've gone with it. So starting off with the brand new Junk Meister, you're going to want to max this card out. This card's just insane. It's so good, and the fact of the matter is it also gives a non-tuner to the Synchron archetype, which is kind of what it's been missing. So if this card is in the hand, you get to reveal a warrior or a Stardust Synchro monster from the extra deck. So easy to do. It's a special on this card. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Synchros. Doesn't matter. And then if this card is normal or special, you get to add a junk card from the deck to your hand except itself. Target a junk monster you control, reduce its level by up to 2, and use each effect once per turn. Now the card you're going to want to search is going to be your Junk Armor. So your opponent cannot target Synchro monster you control with Warrior or Stardust in their original name with card effects. Only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is added to the hand except by drawing it, special summon it. You can tribute this card to special on a Junk or a Synchro monster Synchron monster directly from the deck in defense position except itself. Now, for those of you that have played Synchrons in before, we all know that Junk Speeder is probably like one of our most important Synchro monsters. So one of the cards that Junk Armor can get direct access to is going to be your Jet Synchron. So the idea is off the back of a Junk Meister, you're going to get access directly to your Junk Speeder, and you can even chain block your Junk Speeder, because one effect that a lot of people forget about Jet Synchron, because it's usually used as a splashable card rather than in its own archetype, is when it leaves the field, you get to obviously, you have the ability to send a card from the hand to the graveyard to special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. However, it's sent to the graveyard as Synchro material. You get to add a junk monster from the deck to the hand. So straight away, you can chain block your Junk Speeder. You get to add a junk monster from deck to the hand, being your Junk Synchron. And then your Junk Synchron, when it's normal summon, because we haven't done that yet because of Junk Meister, you get to target level 2 alarm monster in the graveyard and special summon it back. So use your Junk Synchron. You can special summon back your Junk Armor. Or if you want to go into a Synchro level 3, as long as you get a non-tuner to it as well, you can also add back, or technically if you've already got a monster in play, you can add back your Jet Synchron, and then as long as you've got a non-tuner, you're good to kind of continue to build on. So we're only going to be playing 2 Junk Synchron just because of how easily accessible it is. This deck is very easy to play at a 50 to 60 card build without a shadow of the doubt. Like, you can play so many non-engine pieces in this deck that also help your engine. You can also play so many different ways to consistently get to your engine pieces. You've got cards like on your mark, get set, duel. You could even play dual evolution, assault zone, and massive shout out, like I faced someone at UK's Game Expo that was on assault mode, like actual pure assault mode, and it was insane. It was proper fun to watch go off as well, and this card is crazy good for that deck. It can also be utilised in this deck as well, but I wanted to keep it as a flat 40 as I possibly can. Then for the other Synchrons, we're playing 2 Stardust Synchron. This card is now even more important thanks to cards in Blazing Dominion. So if this card is in the hand or grave, tribute a monster, special on this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can't special summon from the extra deck except the turn, for the rest of the turn except Synchros, again, doesn't really matter. If this card is normal or special, you get to add a spell or trap from the deck to the hand that specifically lists Stardust Dragon in its text. Now, the one you're usually going to go to, or used to go to, 99% of the time, is Stardust Illumination, which is basically like a Foolish Burial, or if you already controlled Stardust, you get to special summon your Stardust Trail. However, now what you can do, which is pretty much even more insane, is you can get direct access to your brand new Junk Signal. So this one lets you activate one of these effects. You can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Synchros. So you can tribute a monster to special summon a monster except the tributed monster from the hand, deck, or graveyard that is a Junk Warrior or Stardust Dragon, or that mentions either of them. Alternatively, when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your Synchro monster's effect activation, negate that effect. Only use one effect per turn. You can only activate one junk signal per turn. So the fact that your Stardust Synchron can get direct access to this is just absolutely nuts. So it gives you a negate protection. Within reason, by the time you're trying to make your junk speeder, you've probably already gone through, junk speeder. But even then, if you haven't, still get access to your junk signal. The ability that it lets you dodge targeted effects sometimes as well. The fact that it still allows you to get tuners onto the field into rotation as well could be very, very useful. So I love this card, which is why I'm playing it at 3. You can afford to play it 2 because of how easily searchable it is. But the way that I see it is, if I already card open into it, I go Illumination. If I've already got access to Illumination, I go to this, and Illumination isn't the priority anymore. And even if I open up with 2 of these, I still have the ability to set one to use during my opponent's turn to give me another layer of protection against my Synchro monsters. And the best thing about it as well, you negate any card effect. So if your opponent wants to go Droplet but didn't send a spell, you go, okay, cool, Junk Signal, and negate. Like, it's such a good card. Going back to the rest of our Synchrons, we've got the 1 Assault Synchron, Revolution Synchron, and Scrap Synchron. So you've got your 1, your 2, and your 3. That's going to bug probably everyone and me. There you go, your 3, your 2, your 1. So your Revolution Synchron, if you Synchro summon a Power Tool or a level 7 or 8 Dragon Monster, you can use this card in the hand as material. So it's actually really good if you get a level 4 Junkmeister on the field, and you just want to nuke your opponent's entire field, because you go, okay, cool. Synchro summon with Revolution Synchron into Black Rose Dragon and nuke the field. Now that's obviously not a consistent play, but it is an option that you have for you. On top of that as well, if you control a level 7 or higher Synchro, while this card is in the graveyard, you get to send the top card of your deck to the grave, special summon this card, and its level becomes 1. Your Assault Synchron, during the main phase, you can special summon this card from the hand, but you take 700 damage. That's fine for a level 2 tuner. And then on top of that as well, is if a face-up Dragon Synchro monster you control is tributed or banished, except during damage step, banish this card from the graveyard, target one of those monsters and special summon it back. And then your Scrap Synchron, for a Synchro summon, you can substitute this card for any one Synchron tuner. So if a card mentions specifically Junk Synchron or the Jet Synchron or anything else like that, you can substitute itself for it. But also on top of that, if you Synchro summon a monster that mentions a Synchron tuner as material, this card in the hand can also be used as material. So I think this came out after Cool Tunes, but there was a phase that we went through in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you could link someone using certain monsters in your hand, you could Synchro using certain monsters in your hand. So this was like kind of the 1 stages like before Cool Tunes, or around the Cool Tune era anyway. And then if a monster you control that mentions Junk Warrior or is a Synchro monster with Warrior in its original name would be destroyed by battle card effect, you banish this card from the grave or field instead. And then for our non-tuners, we've got 2 Full Speed Warrior. Monsters you control that mention Junk Warrior or a Synchro monster with Warrior in its original name gain 900 attack. Only during the battle phase. If this card is normal or special, you get to add a Junk Synchron or a spell trap that mentions Junk Warrior from the deck to the hand. So again, even more ways to get you direct access to your Junk signal, because it does mention Junk Warrior there, which is just what makes that card so incredibly good. And then we are playing 1 Assault Sonic Warrior. So if you control Junk Warrior, Assault Mode activate, or a card that mentions either of those cards, which we've already kind of gone over the cards that already mention Junk Warrior, pretty insane. Special summon this card from the hand. If this card is normal or special, you get to add a Synchron monster or an Assault Mode activate from the deck to the hand. If it is sent to the grave as Synchro material, you can make all monsters you control gain 500 attack for the rest of the turn. Which, in the time where you use this as Synchro material, but remember it's a level 2 non-tuner, the cards you're going to buff probably aren't going to stay on the field. But it's still that ability to chain block your junk speeder, which is so important. And this is where your dual evolution assault zone will come into play, is for the pure fact that you would be able to add this card here. And when it's activated, you add a monster that mentions assault mode activate, being the Assault Sonic Warrior from the deck or grave to the hand. Assault mode monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect. The turn they are special summoned, you can pay 2,000 life points. Once per turn, the Synchro monster that would be tributed to activate assault mode activate can be chosen from the extra deck instead, even if this card has left the field. Only use the effect once per turn, and you can only activate 1 per turn. Now, I'm personally not playing dual evolution in this build because the route I decided to go was the emergency teleport route, but that's just another option for you as well. So the emergency teleport option route is your Psi Reflector, and the idea behind this one is that you can get access to your Psi Reflector off of emergency teleport, which we are playing 3 of. But the idea is if this card is normal or special, you add an assault mode activate or a card that mentions it from the deck to the hand. Just move those out of the way. So you can grab access to your assault mode, Assault Sonic Warrior. And then because this mentions Assault Mode Activate, you can special summon this down to the field. This doesn't give you your level 5 access, but this will then give you direct access to search a card as well, to add a Synchro monster or an Assault Mode Activate from the deck to the hand. And this then gives you access to grab a Synchro monster, and then that will allow you to use that Synchro monster being your Scrap Synchron in order to then Synchro into your Scrap Warrior and then build your combo on from that point on. So there's loads of little different kind of intricate pieces as well that work out really, really nicely behind these cards, and that's why I like Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport also comes better if you are playing Ghost Ogre as well, which is completely optional if you wanted to, but it's still very, very good to get you direct access to the Psyframe package, sorry, the Psy-Reflector package, and then it's entirely up to you. If you don't want to do it, you can very easily take out the Psy-Reflector or rely less on it and just play dual Evolution Assault Zone instead. Then for the rest of our non-tuners, we've got the one Stardust Trail. Then for consistency pieces, we've got free tuning. You might not need to lean onto this card as much anymore because this just lets you add a Synchron tuner from the deck to the hand. So that will still give you access to your Junk Synchron. It still gives you access to your Scrap Synchron. It just means that you can eat a certain interaction against your as you're trying to build your field. And in doing so, you've got tuning to fall back on. And the fact that tuning isn't hard once per turn, you can search as many times as you need to. The final two cards we're playing for the main engine is 2 Synchro Fellowship. So this one just giving you direct access to add 2 monsters from the deck to the hand. One specifically needs to be Junk Synchron, and then one monster that mentions Junk Warrior. So it could be your Junk Speeder if you need to as well. And then you do have to discard a card, but it's still a combo piece searcher. It does also give you that ability in the graveyard for an additional normal summon. It also works its way to being able to reduce the level of one of your Synchron monsters as well. Reduce one of your Synchro monsters, which is actually really important to allow you to manipulate levels to get you where you need to go. Then for the non-engine, I've gone with 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Fredrolis Harmonia. Now, I know Harmonia could be a little bit expensive right now, and if you're just a classic Synchro fan and you're not going to want to spend out for this card as well, you can afford to sub it out. It can very easily be your Mulchomi Fuolos's. It could be Ghost Bells if you wanted to as well. The exact same can be said with Forbidden Crown. I'm on 2 of these and 2 Forbidden Droplets, but this can very easily become a 3rd Forbidden Crown if you wanted it to. You can also start opening up the space for your dual Evolution Assault Zone. And then the final card I'm playing is the one Called by the Grave. So for the expensive cards being Crown and Harmonia, there are alternatives for them, not doing the exact direct jobs that they were to do. But the idea is that the Harmonia can be a tuner on the field. It also gives you the ability to open up your extra deck a little bit more because you can start to choose targets that it can send a little bit more effectively. But it's just overall just a great hand interacting disruption. But you can adapt it to kind of whatever else you have available to you. They're not like, you can't play this deck if you don't have Harmonia and you don't have Crown. That's like not how this deck works. There's so many different options. Like I said, this deck can be built as a 60 card option with incredible ease that if you really, really wanted to, you can kind of choose to play like any other cards in its place. Like I've already mentioned, you've got the options to be able to play stuff like Ghost Bells, Ghost Ogres as well, like I mentioned with the fact of Emergency Teleport gives you another layer as well. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we've got 2 level 3s in the form of the Scrap Warrior and Samashin, Samsara, Sorrow Cat. God, woohoo, all the S's. So your Scrap Warrior requires Scrap Synchron and then 1 or more non-tuners. Monsters you control that mention Junk Warrior or a Synchro monster with Warrior in its original name cannot have their activated effects negated. If this card is Synchro summoned, you get to take a Junk Synchron or a card that mentions Junk Warrior from the deck and either add it to the hand or send it to the graveyard. Now, the reason you play this cat right here, this cat, however you want to go with it, is that once per chain during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect immediately after the effect resolve Synchro summon using this card you control. If this card is in your graveyard, you target one other Synchro monster in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck, and if you do, special on this card, but banish when it leaves the field. Now, that's actually really important, not just for the grind game, but in the combo on Metrics kind of video, you'll see how this card can come back, and then it increases one of your Synchro plays as well, which is actually really nice. And then carrying on with our other lower level monsters. Now, the next one, this is what I actually really quite liked about the build as well. So you've got your classic Junk Speeder, pretty standard on this one. Like being able to special summon as many of your Synchro monsters directly from the deck is just insanely powerful. But then the other cards I quite liked, and this is what inspired me to use them from Metrics video, was the Rage Rose Witch and the Garden Rose Maiden. Now, I know that some builds actually play this version, or play these in them. But then I was like, okay, well, give me more of a reason to play these. Like, I like these cards in Black Rose, they're great in Black Rose, but give me more of a reason to do it. And what I found was that the level 6 of the Rage Rose Witch was actually really important, and the fact that it's not a tuner allowed you to kind of work your way further up, and allowed you to work your way into the Sorrow Cat as part of, you know, your other Synchro plays. But the idea was that you could then work your way into like Synchro level 10s. You set the Garden Rose Maiden up, so it allowed you to use as Synchro fodder as you climbed up one of your dragons and then bring it back to the field. So it actually puts in a lot of work, which I really liked. The one Malong, which is the target to be sent off of the back of your Harmonia. And then for the 7, we've got the Black Rose Dragon. You can use it to nuke the field, which is a great bonus, but then also you'll see in the Metrics combo, you use this as a stepping stone. So it can be any level 7 dragon if you wanted to, but using it as a stepping stone with the Sorrow Cat then allows you to get into your Bestial Dispatter, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then got the one Zarlan, just Zarlan being able to have, and this was another thing in Metrics video, like I can't talk higher about Metrics video because it allowed me to tailor the extra deck. Like the extra deck in Synchrons is, or just Synchros in general, it's just so wide and varied that I was able to go, right, okay, well, what ones do I actually want to play? And when I saw the video, every single Synchro monster that he used, or they used, was like they had a purpose. They had a much better multi-use purpose. So Black Rose, nuke the field or a step up. Zarlan, when you're ending your field with the Zarlan in play, you have your ability of already having a Crimson Dragon on the field, so you now have a way to trigger the Zarlan very consistently during your opponent's turn. For the 8s, we've got the one Axel Synchron Stardust Dragon, and then of course the original Stardust Dragon. For the 10s, we've got the one Bestial Dispatter. And then for the 11s, this is where it gets really, really fun. So the 11 that you're going to make so easy, so quickly, is going to be your Cursed Thunder God. And the reason this is so easily made is that when you make your Crimson Dragon, I know this is a 12, but Crimson Dragon then allows you to tag off the back of your Cursed Thunder God to go into your Shooting Majestic Star Dragon, which I absolutely loved. And if that wasn't enough, you can then make Crimson Dragon again, so that during your opponent's turn, use Crimson Dragon to tag off the back of your Shooting Majestic Star Dragon and work your way into Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So if it is Synchro summoned, you get to add a spell or trap that mentions Crimson Dragon. Now, I agree with Metric on his video as well, is that their video, they were basically saying that they didn't want to play the spell card because it was a hard brick, which I completely agree with. There's been times where it's actually bit me in the backside quite hard. There are times when it has saved me, so I'm kind of in between the two of them with it. But yeah, I'm actually kind of happy not playing it. I don't think it's an absolute necessity. And then this lets you target a level 7 or higher Synchro monster on the field, except itself, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon a Dragon Synchro. So it has to spawn out the Dragon Synchro, which is how you can get the Majestic Star Dragon. It's also how you can get into the Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And what I liked about this one, and again, very valid point from Metrics, is it lets you try and play around Super Polymerization, which is a card that is being utilized massively right now. And the biggest difference between this and Cool Tunes is Cool Tunes will end on tuners, whereas this doesn't. So. But the idea is you get to go into Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Now, specifically when this card is Synchro summoned, you get to banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. So the Synchro summon has to be the last thing that happens, so relatively easy to do that. If this Synchro summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you get to special summon a Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier from the extra deck or grave. Its attack becomes 3,300, and then half the attack of any face-up monster your opponent controls. So if you wanted to, you can also play the original Trishula, which is absolutely fine. But the idea is that you're going to use your Crimson Dragon. Quick effect, target in the monster, spawn out into the Trishula Dragon. This can be any other level 11 dragon if you want to. I just liked what this actually added. I thought that was actually really clever and kind of cool. So I quite like the Trishula Zero Dragon option as well. And that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Like I said, I'm going to put a link in the description down below to Metrics Combo. I highly advise you checking out their channel. I think their channel is really, really good right now. One thing that I really like is that they're doing combos that allow you to play through Droll and Nibiru. Obviously, Nibiru isn't as big of a factor this current format, but Droll always does rear its head, and it's kind of one of them cards right now that can stop decks dead, especially rogue decks like the Synchrons that really want to utilize their plays to their max potential, and a single Droll can really kind of end the dream there. So I really like what the Junk Master has added to the deck. The only thing I don't like about it is just how big the stack of junk cards are becoming, or like the Synchron cards are coming. Like I said, you can very easily build a 60 card build with this and no issues whatsoever. So I like the creativity behind it. My biggest issue with Synchrons in general is that their extra deck is so tight. Like, their deck can go up to 60, but their extra deck can't go any higher. And there's so many cool Synchro monsters you want to play. And what I liked about this version is that it focused on a lot more higher end and higher level Synchro monsters than the lower ones. And it relied more on consistent pieces rather than like boss monsters in the form of like the one Chaos Angel in specific scenarios helps you out. This was like, you build up to this. It kind of reminds me of Trish Pendulum decks where they're like, here's everything I got, break it, you probably win, but it's going to be very, very tough for you to break it, and that's what I liked about it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, put them in the comments down below. I am always happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.